All right, now that we've looked at circumference, we're going to take a look at area of a circle. Area of a circle only has one formula. It's right here. Area equals pi r squared, so pi times the radius squared. So it can get a little bit confusing working with a couple of different formulas so far because they do look similar. So in this first problem, we're going to look at both the exact area and circumference of this circle. So let's go back and review circumference. Circumference equals, we have two formulas, pi times diameter, but I don't want to use that one here because this segment right here is the radius. It goes from the center to a point on the circle. So I want to use 2 times pi times radius. So I'm going to plug in that 10 for the radius. So circumference equals 2 times pi times 10. I'm going to multiply the 2 and the 10 together to get 20 pi. That's my exact answer because pi is in the answer. So 20 pi feet. That's the circumference. So that's my answer for circumference. Now if I want to find the area, I'm going to use this formula up here. We do not get the same number when we square. So area is pi times radius squared. So I'm going to put that 10 in for r again. Area equals pi times 10 squared. So I'm going to take 10 and square it. So you want to look for like this x squared button on your calculator. Sometimes you guys also have that little caret button that you can use also. Or you can just do 10 times 10. 10 squared is 100. So I can do it 10 times 10 like I just did, 10 times 10, or I can do 10 squared and get that 100. So area equals 100 pi, because I just did 10 squared. I still leave pi in my answer for an exact answer, and it's feet. And we're going to say feet squared. We always square units when we're talking about area. So circumference, 20 pi feet, area, 100 pi feet squared. Because here we multiplied 10 and 2. Here we didn't do 10 times 2. We did 10 times 10 to get 100. We're going to skip this second one. And we're going to move down here. We're going to find the exact area of the following circles. So could we find approximate area? Yes, definitely. And I'll show you that on one of them. But let's focus mostly on exact area. And actually I'm going to just peek ahead at the homework to make sure that I want you to do exact answers in the homework too. So we'll focus on exact answers. So so for all of these, we'll use area equals pi times radius squared. So in number 3, I have the radius, because remember, radius is only part of that diameter. It's half of that diameter. So area equals pi times 12 squared. I'm going to do 12 times 12 to get 144, or 12 and use this x squared button. Again, yours may look different on your calculator, to get 144. So I did 12 squared. Area equals, and I'm gonna put that up front because I don't want to write it like here. I could have had pi times 100. That's not how we write it. We want the number up front. So 144 pi, and then we label it. This is centimeters squared. And that's the formula. The answer, not the formula, the answer. So very little work. You don't have to write down. I always write down the formula for you because we're talking through it. I wrote it down here just because we're talking through it. But really, when you're showing your work, just plug in your number and then you do your calculator work and give me the answer. So it's really only 2 lines. Number 4, again, it's radius because it goes from the center of the circle to a point on the circle. So area equals pi times radius times 3 squared. We want to do 3 squared. 3 times 3 is 9. So area equals 9 pi. This one's meters, so meters squared. And that's our answer. Number 5, now we have the diameter. The diameter we cannot plug into this formula. We don't have a separate formula for area when we have the diameter. So what we have to do is we have to take the diameter, which is 8, divide it by 2, and that means our radius is 4. Oh, you can't see any of that. So we took the diameter, 8, divided by 2, and the radius is 4. The radius is 4 kilometers. Then we plug it into that area equals pi times radius squared. So area equals pi times the radius, which is 4, squared. 4 times 4 is 16, so 16 pi kilometers squared. And I don't have to see this work right here. I just want you to know how I'm getting my answer. Like you can probably look at 8 and say, oh, half of 8 is 4. And that's all we're doing. So right in number 6, we have the diameter again. We need to take half of that. Half of 16 is 8. So our radius is 8 centimeters. So we'll plug that into our formula. Area equals pi times radius, 8 squared. 8 times 8, again, calculator-wise, if you're using a calculator and you forgot the steps, 8 times 8 is 64, or 8 to the second is 64. So area equals 64 pi centimeters squared. So then, if I was not finding an exact area, so remember this is exact, that's what we're finding. If I wanted approximate, I would take that 64 and multiply it by 3.14, and I have 200.96. So area equals 200.96, still centimeters squared because it's still area, and then this would be my approximate answer. So it's same when we're finding the approximate answer, it's the same way that we did circumference. We multiply by 3.14. We just aren't going to do that in today's notes and on today's homework. So now what I actually want to do is I want to show you one of the homework problems. So we're going to do number 1 together. So you can come back and look at this if you're having trouble with any of the homework on your own. Solve the missing elements for each problem. Exact answers. Here are the two formulas. Area equals pi r squared and circumference equals pi times diameter. So you're going to have radius and you're going to have diameter. So if you wanted to use circumference equals 2 pi r, you can, but you'll have the diameter. So you could really use either formula. So if the radius is 20, so if a radius is 20, that radius is 20, this radius is 20, this radius is 20, what the next question is asking me is the diameter. What is this whole piece? Well, all we have to do is 20 plus 20. So 20 plus 20, the diameter is 40 inches. I just add 2 radii together to get a diameter. Then I would plug, if I'm using pi times diameter for circumference, circumference equals pi times 40. So here, this one equals 40 pi, because I want exact answers, 40 pi inches. Then, to find the area, area equals pi r squared. So pi times the radius squared. So the radius we know is 20. 20 squared. And that equals 20 times 20 is 400 pi inches squared. So there's our circumference. There's our area. And I just kind of showed my work on that line too. Because there's not a whole lot of work with these. You should show your work, but there's not a lot. It's just showing what you plugged in. Because if you're plugging in the wrong number, I want to see that. So I know what you're doing wrong. Because I'm looking at your answers. I'm making sure you're understanding everything correctly. Like if you have 1 or 2 wrong, I'm not going to email you about that. But if I'm seeing you do everything wrong, that's not good. I wanna let you know if you're doing everything wrong. So show me what you're plugging in. I'm actually going to show you another one. Let's look at the next one. Because we started out here with a radius of 20. Here we have a diameter of 20. So we're working backwards. Here, this whole thing is 20. And we want to know what half of it is for the radius. Well, to get 20, it'd be 10 and 10. 20, half of that divided by 2 is 10. So all the radii are 10 feet. So that's how we would work backwards on that. Then, same thing for circumference. You can use either of these formulas because now you have diameter and radius, so whichever one you want. I'm going to say pi times diameter is 20. So it's 20 pi feet. That's my circumference. Area is pi times radius, which is 10, squared. So that's 10 times 10 is 100 pi feet squared. So it's typed out for you, but I'm going to have you finish these other, let's have you do these bottom 6. So 4 through 9 is what I'm going to have you do. Those 3 steps on each one. Either change it to radius and then plug it into the formulas, or when you're given radius, find the diameter and plug it into the formulas.